So today I'm going to talk about using Excel for instrument design. I found that it's very helpful when you have um, a lot of fields that are very similar, and it saves you time instead of having to build each field individually, especially if they have similar values or similar branching logic or things like that. So a few weeks ago, I helped a person build this instrument for them. They have they schedule people for 2 weeks at a time, and the participant doesn't see this table, they see the bottom one, but they're having them fill out their working hours, so like their time, their waking hours or something like that, start time, end time, basically. But depending on when they enroll for the project, for example, if they enroll on Monday, then they don't need to do the Sunday start end time, and then or things like that. So what they would do is when they enroll a participant, they fill this out, they skip that form or they skip that week. And then when the participant actually gets their survey, they get this table for them to put in their times. And then it just hides Saturday and Sunday. So it's just very basic structure, nothing too complicated. But what takes a lot of time is that each one of these is its own field. And so there's 28 fields for this table, and then there's 28 fields for this table, and then you have to have branching logic for this table to match here. So just to show you the design, this is the table with all the embedded fields. And this is where Excel comes in handy, because instead of having to type all these manually, you can set up little formulas to build these fields for you. Same thing down here. So we have the embedded fields. And then these are all of the fields that you would have to create for this table. And there's 28 for each, so it's 56. And then you get down here and you have each individual field. Like you could do copy and basically copy the field and go in, but then you'd have to update the labels, you have to update the field name, and then you have to update the branching logic. And it's one of those things where if you got to do all that, it's not even worth copying, because you have to go in and change everything. But I'll show you how to do it in Excel really quickly. So we're basically going to build this form, and I'll show you how I built this one. And this is something I regularly do anytime I have to, even if I have to update an existing form, and I'll show you that later. Sometimes it's easier for me to just pull it out as the CSV and edit it in Excel and then re-upload it with the changes instead of having to use the GUI here. So for this project, I have a blank that just has the two tables, and then we're gonna build all the fields for that. So what I like to do before I export this out is I like to build one of the fields, or whatever field that I'm doing. I want to build it in REDCap first, because I want to make sure it's working, the functionality is there before I export it, because since I'm basing everything off of those fields, I want to make sure it's working. So let me just move this up here out of the way, and I'll use it for my own reference. So the first thing I'm going to build is the Sunday start time. So we're going to add a checkbox field here, and this is for the skipping function. So we're going to add a checkbox, and this is going to be called Sunday start time, and I have my field name, and I'm just putting in, this is the demo, this is the regular one. Skip. And then I need one field down here for my for the participant to select their time. So let me make sure I have the right one. So this one is going to be the start time. So week 1 start time. And it's going to be a text field with a time. Now I also want to put in the branching logic for this field. So I'm just going to copy that from here. And it's not, and this is another reason why I like to build it in REDCap first, because, and I'll do this manually. I was going to copy and paste, but I'll show you a better way. So if you just go in here with the drag and drop, it's good to do it this way instead of like I had where I was going to copy and paste it, because I want to drag this over here for the Sunday skip. And sometimes it's confusing the way, like if you're not paying attention, we're always used to putting in, the square brackets, the field name, and then equals whatever. And for most of the fields, that's valid, but it's easy to get tripped up whenever you have a field that's a checkbox, because the option, instead of it being skip week 1 Sunday start equals 1, the option here is what you want. And then you're basically saying option 1, which I only have one option, is equal to 1, which means it's checked. So it's good to do it through the logic editor this way, because then it's correct instead of trying to hand type it. And then you also know that you've set it correctly going down the road. I've had problems where I've tried, I've thought I was doing something right, and I went in and I typed everything up and then realized I typed it up wrong, and then I had to go back. And it's nice using the logic editor, because if you do have something, for example, if I did type this in, it says it's valid. So I'm like, okay, cool, I got this correct. But if you click on the drag and drop logic builder and it's not valid, it's going to complain. It's going to tell you that it can't convert that value that you typed in back to the drag and drop style. So that's an indication that you messed up somewhere. So it's always good to start with the drag and drop builder, and then go to the logic editor if you need to change anything. Okay, so we have our field here, and if I go to add edit record, oh, and then actually the next thing we need to do is I have to embed them. So we're going to put this here, and actually one of the nice features that we have in REDCap now is that we can just click on the field name to copy it. So I'm going to do that. And then for the start time here, we have Sunday start, and then I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to go down here and click on this one. And it should automatically, so it says that it has embedded fields, but it's not showing that this is embedded here. But if you hit refresh, it's going to show you where it is to make sure that it's done right. So, okay, so we have everything set up. Now, if I just go to add edit record, you'll see that the functionality is there for that one field. So if we go to the sheet here, now the field is showing up. If I, or it should be, did that skipping? Oh, sorry, I actually did the incorrect one for the branching logic here. This should be not equal to 1. Because it should show by default, and then if I select skip, then it hides. Okay, so now that we have the basic functionality of this form set up, we're going to export this to Excel. So we're going to go to the designer here. I'll leave this. We're going to export this to Excel. So you download the instrument zip. And then it opens up like this. We're just going to extract the instrument CSV, and that's what we're going to work on. Make this bigger so everybody could see it. So this is the field that I'm going to highlight this. These are the fields that we're going to work on adding for the table. So let me add some extra fields here. We need, so there's 2 weeks and there's a start and end time for each day. So here we have, so it's week 1. So we have skip _ week 1. And then we have Sunday. And then this is either start or end. So this is how I build things really quickly, is I just kind of look at the format, and this is really helpful to get you to think about naming conventions for your fields, because if you have a lot of fields that you're adding, it's good to think about how to structure them to where not only do they make sense, but are they sort of formatted in a way that you could build these sort of formulas that create these fields for you. So I organize this in a way sort of like greatest chunk of a group to like the smallest group. So, within 1 day, there is a start and an end, and then within 1 week, there's 7 days. So I set it here to where it breaks down into smaller pieces. So here, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to type Monday _ Tuesday _ actually, and then let me move these because I need 2 of each. So so now we have 1 week, and then I'm just going to copy these. And the nice thing about Excel is if you have something like this and you're doing 2, it'll kind of complain if you like it won't fill this whole thing up if you don't have them all selected. Like for example, if I overshot this by 1 and I do this, it's just going to add the 2 here. So it's nice to know that whenever you have the pair set up, and if set up correctly, it'll fill down automatically. So now I have to just do the week 1. And now I have a group for week 1, and then I'm going to copy and paste this. And then I'm just going to highlight this row here. And I'm going to do replace, and I'm just going to do week 1 with week 2. So now I have these fields set up. I don't have them set up in the format of the CSV, but I've just got it set up for what I need to start building the CSV. And I'm going to use formulas to automatically create the field names. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to make sure I'm well past the data point for the columns. And I'm just going to select it. Let's see. So we're just going to insert down here. And this one we actually want up top. Because that's here. This one is the one we already have. This is one we're going to be using. And let me turn it green just so we have. So this is what we're going to be, this is what we want to build from these. So we're going to just select, we're going to create a formula, and we're going to say we want this and this and this. And just like that, we have our fields with the same name for everything. And then we can just grab this and either, or sorry, not copy and paste. We can just do Control D to add that. The other thing is we want to double check that we have everything else here for the field. And so we're going to do, we want the checkbox. This, we want the time. So we want week 1, Sunday start time, that kind of thing. And we'll do the same thing here. I'm just going to shrink this so we can see it. So we're going to do the same thing that we did on for the field names. We're going to do that for the labels here. I mean, you could type all this in if you want, or you could just do this and then go in and just, change this to end. Like what we might as well do that. So we'll just copy and paste all these. And then now we have start and end. This is Monday. And it really doesn't matter on these fields just for this project because these are all going to be embedded. So you're not even going to see this label. But if you were to do this for any other project, you would want to make sure your labels are correct if they're going to be visible. But even just typing these manually, this is a lot faster than having to create new fields in REDCap because you'd have to click on the field, open it up, type in the name, save it, go to the next field. Whereas here I'm just having to click in the box, the cell. But the nice thing is once I have 1 week done, I can do the same thing where I could just copy 1 week, paste it. And then while I have those selected, I'm just going to change week 1 to week 2. Nope, 2. So, I spent some time building this one, but it saved me time on this one and I can actually just delete these. And then what's nice is this is actually going to help us when we build the fields for the next table. So we want to make sure that this skip is here. And this is why I like building the form or the fields in REDCap first, because I have this one and I know it's working. So I know that just everything that is here, I just have to account for that. So if there's nothing in this column, for any of these values, like there's no branching logic here, I don't have to worry about it. So I'm just accommodating for everything and making sure that it's the same for all the fields. So let me just remove the styling for this. And it doesn't matter. When you do a CSV file, if you style these and you save it and you open it up, all the styling is gone because it's just a text. It's not like a spreadsheet. It's just a text file. So this is the first table. Now, if we delete this and we're going to use, we don't need this anymore, but you have to be careful if you build these with formulas because, for example, if I'm like, okay, I'm done with these columns, I can get rid of them. I delete it. Now all my columns are gone because I'm still referencing the formula. I haven't converted them to text. So what you do is you just copy this column, and then when you paste it, you just paste formulas only. It's this little clipboard with the 1, 2, 3 on it. So now when I click on the field, if you look up here, it's a label. Whereas before, let me undo this, it's the formula. So you want to make sure that you have the values so that way you can get rid of this column.
So yeah, so you copy not the formula, but the value.
Yeah. Yeah, you copy, but when you paste.
Right. You said formulas again, so I just.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you paste the value, not the formula. Correct. Right. So the nice thing is that having to do this work here for these saves us work for building the table for this. Because once again, when I built the form, I was thinking in terms of how am I going to maximize these field labels and use them, you know, in a way that gives me that saves me some time. So here you can see that this is skip underscore week 1 Sunday start. My other one is just week 1 Sunday start. So I just got rid of the skip, or I just added the skip for these fields. So I just got to get rid of the skip whenever I copy these fields in. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to insert 28 or 27 columns here, or rows, sorry. Because I don't want to just copy this like this. Like if I just grabbed all these, I don't want to copy all of these rows or these columns and then paste it here, because what I'm going to do is I would end up overwriting this information that is what I need. So I just want to have space for those. And then I'm going to go in and grab just the columns for the field name and the form name. And then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this. So I'm going to get rid of skip.
Oh,
And then in here, I just have to leave this as blank and I replace this all. So you can see here now that it's week 1 Sunday start, week 1 Sunday end. And this is what's nice about having this built already, is I can see this is the format I'm going for, and I can see if it matches for these. And then the same thing here, you always have to make sure you copy the instrument name. And then here, I'm just going to copy text and paste it. And then I can just right click and do value if I don't want to have the yellow boxes. Now for the labels here, we already have the labels up top. So I'm just going to grab those, starting with the second one. And once again, I just need to get rid of skip. So now I have all those labels done. This is going to be time because that's the validation for this. And then now here's the interesting part is we have, I can't just copy this, you know, and I could type these in like we did for the labels, and I could just go in and update the skip or the value here. But I have this information right here. I just need to build it as a formula because I have the field label up here. So this is A4 here. So I'm going to go down here and select, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste just the value. And then I'm going to build a formula off of this. So I'm just going to say equals, and I want the bracket here. I don't need the name of the field because I'm going to grab that. So I'm going to say at, and that was A4. And then I'm going to do at again. And then I'm going to have this as a text string here. So what I'm doing now is I'm just using this formula to grab this field name, and I'm leaving the rest together. And this is why it's nice to use the single quotes here, because then you can use double quotes for formulas. The other way too is if you use the double quotes, you can use single quotes. It's just sometimes with special characters, you have to actually do like the character field. Sometimes Excel doesn't like that. So now you can see here that I have equals Sunday end. And if I just drag this down, one more here, or actually here's where it ends. So you can see here now that I just updated my branching logic and it matches the fields over here that I built. And once again, you want to make sure that you copy and then paste the values. And then, and that's it, because we don't have anything over here that we need to worry about. All those are, you know, those are blank. This stuff down here isn't stuff we're worried about. The only thing we're going to have to do now is update the field embedding. So I'll show you for the tables, because this is what the HTML looks like for the tables. We don't have the embedding in here. So like if I just do an opening bracket to find where that field is, or, oh, it might not be in there. We should have one in there. Let me, yeah, we should have one in there, but you don't have to worry about building it in here. Like this is kind of, trying to find this. I'll show you how to do this real quick using Excel as well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to save this, and hopefully I did everything correctly. That's the curse of doing a live demo, is that it always, works whenever nobody's watching. So when you do this, you have to, you can't just upload this instrument. And actually what the first thing we need to do is drag this back into the zip file and copy and replace. So the first thing that you need to do here is, one, create a snapshot of your instruments. Because if you're going to be messing with anything here and you mess up, you want to be able to go back to what you just had, and you want to be able to have a snapshot here that you can download and replace and get back to where you were. So it's always a good habit to take a snapshot. I usually take a snapshot before I export and one before I import. It costs you nothing to over save, but at least you have it there to cover your butt. And it's really important too, especially when you're doing big forms, because the first thing you have to do after that is you have to get rid of this instrument. You can't upload a new instrument because you're replacing this one. And it's scary because you have to delete this one before you put the other one in. So we're going to delete, and then we're going to select upload. And we want the instrument zip here. Now it's saying that, oh, so it's saying that the ear survey intro and embed times must be unique. So it must be that there's a field. Did I copy a field in here? Let me look. Oh yeah, so it's saying this embed times. There's two of these. So these two fields, I'm just going to get rid of these fields down here. They don't really matter. So what happened is when I copied, I must have copied these two fields down. So they were duplicates. So we'll try that again.
You
Oh,
didn't replace the CSV and the zip.
you're correct. I just realized that. There we go. Yes. There we go. And then the other thing is you have to rename it. Like here, it doesn't have the capitals, so you just do that. So just keep that in mind if you have any formatting like this with parentheses or anything like that. It's not going to pull that in when you do it. So now we have all of our fields. They're not embedded yet, but what I'm going to do is we're going to open up this, and we're just going to highlight all these, and we're going to open up Excel again. So similar to the way we had done it for the instrument, we can do it the same way here. And you could also grab, like we just let me go to my desktop here. If we just open up the instrument again, you could have you could just copy and paste from here if you want. So we would do like this. And it's however, works best for you, however you want to do it. You could type these in. But what also helps or makes it easy too is if you could do a formula as well. If it's something you're comfortable with, you could just say at or equals this. And let me just grab this here. Trying to do too many things at once. You could grab these fields and just copy them in, and let's do that.
I would sort those.
Well, what we're going to do is, so we would,
That would be one way to copy and paste quickly.
yeah. So what you could do is just, while you have them here, is just grab all your starts like this. And I'm just going to do 1 week because it's easy to just replace those. So it's all about how you're comfortable working. Like I only need 1 week here. So because I can just do the copy and replace in there when I do it. So I'm going to do this, and I want this field like that. So I'm going to do this. Once again, have to copy and paste the values here because you saw that it was trying to take Monday as the value. Nope. And then we want end. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this just because I want another column. I'm going to keep these week ones. And when you replace these, you want to make sure that you're selecting the row or column that you want to replace, because if you don't, it will go through the whole worksheet and replace everything. Oh, I made a typo here. So we're going to undo that. Week 2 underscore. And now we're going to grab those. And we're going to grab those. And you could copy and paste this in the table in REDCap. So if we go back to the form here, it just depends, because you could, if you copy this, like if I selected this whole table and pasted it in here, it may not have the same formatting. So if you did take time to design this, what I would do is I would only copy and paste the values here. So I'm just going to do this so I can get the whole group. And then you just want to highlight them and center them. So now we have that for the one table. And what we can do now that we have that is you can just highlight this. And we'll put that over here to use on the other one. So then we do this and we save it. And if I refresh this, it should say that these are all embedded now, which it does. Now, when we go down to this one, because we spent the time setting up the values for the first one, and because we have, I'm just going to close this, I keep opening it. Because we have the same values here, and we had named them in a way that can be, just this skip can be removed. So now we can just copy and paste this in. So actually, I'm just going to copy that and I'll overwrite the one that I already have like that and do this. So it really helps to take some time in the beginning to think about how you want to organize things, because the time that you spend organizing will save you time down the road, because you're not having to think on the fly. You're kind of looking at your data as a whole and saying, how can I organize this in a way so that way it's scalable, and it's easy, not only for you to know what the field is and what it's referring to. It's good to have clear field names, but you're organizing it in a way to where the values that you can change are easily changeable so they can accommodate different fields. So we have that now. And if we refresh, it should all have that they're embedded. So if we go to our records, so now we have the same thing here. If we skip, all of our branching logic's working. If we want to hide all these fields, it's all working. So that's basically how you would do it. And if you messed up something, which I'm going to show you real quick on the other form, if we go back to the demo here, if we look at, let me see where I had it. I might have fixed it. But when I had done this earlier, I had noticed that I had accidentally copied oh, here we go. Nope. I think I fixed it. Yeah. I had my field names, they were off by one, because when I had copied and pasted one of the fields, like this was Sunday start demo, and I had copied this like this here, but then instead of renaming it, I had copied it again. So my labels were off by one. This was like Sunday end time, but it was Monday start time. Oh, here we go. It's Monday demo. Yeah, it's right here. So let me delete that. So you can see here that Sunday start, my Sunday end is gone, but Monday start is the field name, but my label is Sunday end. So all of my labels are off by one. So Tuesday end is Tuesday start. So if this happens and because your first thought is, I need to go through and I need to go into this one and edit this, and then I have to close this and I have to go, and you're having to go through every field. But you don't have to do that. It's easier to do it here in Excel. So we're going to download this instrument zip, and we're going to pull this out. This you also have to be careful of if you want to keep, if you've been working on multiple instruments, you want to rename this to something that it doesn't get overwritten, but we don't care for this purpose. So now if we look at the labels here, Sunday start is fine. I'm missing Sunday end as a label, but I have it here as a field. So what I need to do is I just need to insert a row here, and then I can just add that, and then Sunday end. Now that shifts everything else down. So this is Sunday end. We're just going to scroll through. This is Sunday end. Now, if we get down here to the bottom, this is Saturday start. This is Saturday end. And you can see here that this is Saturday end, but it doesn't have this skip. It's actually starting on the other format that we have here. So the easiest way to fix this is just to insert a whole row, and we're just going to drag these up, and then we're going to copy this down and then change the label. So the other one, we had the field missing and the field was incorrect, and this one the label was incorrect. So we're just going to highlight this so we can see it. There's nothing else here that we need to fix. So then we come back. This Saturday end time now we can just get rid of, but we can't get rid of it completely because we have the Sunday start branching logic here. So this, just this stuff needs to get, the labels need to be brought up here. So this label just gets deleted. And then this gets closed up here. So now we have Sunday start. And if you scroll down here, this is Sunday start. And if we go down here, we have Saturday end. So it's easier for you to look at this all together as a table and figure out exactly where the shifts occurred and what needs to be unshifted or fixed, rather than going through the REDCap interface and doing it one at a time, which would take forever. So I'm just going to save that. I'm going to make sure to put it in the right zip that I have. I'm going to make another snapshot, and then I'm going to delete. And then I'm going to upload the demo here. And you can see here that it's going to complain that record is renamed as this. That's because when I deleted this demo at the top, that was the one that had the record ID. But now that it's the second instrument, record ID is part of this instrument now. REDCap automatically adjusts that. So when I'm putting it in now, this record ID is going to be relabeled. So that's no big deal. And once again, if you want to rename your field, your instrument, you have to do it this way. I'll change that as well. And then the thing is, if we drag this up here, it's going to automatically move the record ID into this one, and so we can just delete the other record ID that was there. You can see here, this is the record ID. By me moving that up to the first instrument, REDCap automatically put this in. So this is, we just get rid of this. And then now if we go back to the record status dashboard here and just make sure that these are all working again, which they are. So and that's the important thing, is if I hit Saturday start time, I want Saturday start time to go away, whereas they were shifted before. So that's just an easy way to sort of build your projects in Excel. I do this all the time. It's a lot easier for me sometimes to see data in that sort of format instead of this, especially when you have things that are like really long forms and you have a lot of fields that you're trying to keep track of. Seeing it this way is not as beneficial as seeing it in REDCap. And to give you an example, here's a project that I've been working on with a group for years, and we upload they have informed consent versions going back for years. I think there's like 20 different versions, and there's English and Spanish, and every time they get a new version, it has to be added to the instrument. And you can see here, every time there's a yellow row here is the new consent. So this is one consent here. This is another consent here. So as we go through, these are all different consents. And this is an example of really thinking about how you're going to organize your fields, not only fields that you have now, but how am I going to organize this data so that it's scalable in the future? So for example, when we first started, we had just, and actually go back here, this is like the first English version. And there's pages that are in images, and then there are fields that they're having to enter, check their initials, that kind of thing. And so I'm having to reproduce these every time we have a consent, because they're asking the same questions. They may add a new question, but for the most part, they're the same. So what I do is I go through the consent, I look at how many pages there are and where the questions are on each page, and then I can structure it this way so that this is the page one for the 314 consent. And so I have everything on here. So for everything with this 314 consent, it all ends in 314. So if I had to add a new page or a new consent, I can copy this whole group, and then whatever the date is for that new consent, I can just go in and do copy, replace, or find and replace, and put the new date there. And it makes it a unique field for those consents. So if it was like, today, 6, whatever today is, 6/13, 6/14, 6/13. So I would do like 0613, and I know that's unique for those fields. Now, the added challenge is that we had Spanish versions. And so what I did was, how do I accommodate for Spanish versions? So what I did was, to make it easier, I just added the SP_ prefix to the same fields. So this page 1_0314 is the English version of the 314, and then this is the Spanish version of the 314. So it allows me to build these things really quickly, because I can just copy these groups of fields and paste them, and then just update the branching logic, update the labeling. And then it becomes easier, because once we get a new Spanish version, I have Spanish fields here, and the reason we have to do this is because all the questions are in Spanish, all the responses are in Spanish. So rather than me having to type all this stuff in again, I don't want to create a new consent from the English fields. I want the Spanish fields. So once I have a Spanish version built, I can just copy and paste those Spanish versions and immediately just do the fields. And then what I do is I just have to upload this to the consent form, and then I just have to go in and individually add the images to each of the fields. And I like doing it that way, because then I can see that everything is lining up correctly. And this is just an example of some consent comparisons that I've done. So if we look at this, this is the 1022 English consent. This is the 1022 Spanish consent. Here's the, no, we couldn't use, somebody had a question. They asked, is the Spanish version not using the multi-language module or whatever we have? No, we couldn't do that, because the way we have to do the instruments is they have to be their own individual fields. And so it's not translating from English to Spanish. So it was just easier to put the Spanish in there, because it's only being shown if they select that specific version and that specific language. So in here, for example, there's, like 20 different consents, but only these fields for the Spanish 314 consent are going to show, and we need separate fields to capture when they check that, like, communication preference for that specific consent. Like ideally what I like to do is have each consent be its own separate instrument, but because of the way this project is, we have to use a multi-signature module. And so all the informed consents have to be on one instrument, which it gets very long. I think this is like 1100 fields. But to show you how this is structured, you can see that I have the fields, everything is like highlighted like future research. You know, these are the things that are similar. And then you can see that in the 110 consent versus the 1022 consent, there's an extra page here. So everything gets shifted. And if we look at those, so this is the 1022 consent, and then this is the 110 consent. So there's extra text that they added, and it pushes the form down. So this question now is on page 16 of 25, and this is on page 15. So what's easy for me to do is when I copy these fields and I paste them, all I do is I just add a page, I move page 16 up, and then I just update these. So this, instead of 16, it's 17, this 17, this is 18. And then this goes from 19 to 24, but everything else is the same. And then I go down here, this is 25.1 and 25.2. So I'm able to look at this in kind of a very pared down viewpoint instead of seeing everything together. And then I'm able to just build these fields this way. It's very quick to just add those fields to the CSV, upload it. Same thing as when I have a Spanish one, is I can grab the fields from the Spanish version here, and you can see even the Spanish one got shifted by a page. You know, and you would be tempted to grab the English one and do it because all of these pages line up here. But once again, and you could do this for the field names. Like I could have copied this and then just added SP underscore to all the field values, which I've done before too. And then just use the labels for the, you know, the field labels from the other ones. The one thing you want to pay attention to when you do things like this is field embedding. So for example, down here, let me see where I have it. There is, oh, it's in the Spanish. Or let me see. Let me just find it. So this is an example of the field embedding in the label. So right here we have, we're embedding this field. So this is where you have to be careful, because if I just copied this whole group of fields and I updated it, the nice thing is the way I have this formatted is if I updated this from 0314 to 0613, it's going to update this as well. But you just want to be careful that anything that's not a field that you're copying, pasting, or branching logic, things like that, you want to make sure that you're looking at the field embedding, because you could accidentally embed a different field or not embed the right field. And I've done that before where I've uploaded something and then I see an error, or I see that it's not doing it. And even then it's easier to go in and just fix a one-off. This just really saves you time when you have to build like 50 fields for multiple instruments or things like that. So does anybody have any questions about that? Comments, concerns?
This is really, really awesome, Manny. I can see people going with this as far as making their daily diaries and checks. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very helpful when you have a lot of repetitive fields. I should have had Terry building the field, the instrument side by side to see who was faster.
Get out. That's not happening. Yeah, that would have been fun. Okay, so thank you. I appreciate it. Marjorie, are we clear that you'll email Tanya and I when you're off your call?
Yes, I will. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Okay, so we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining. As always, very appreciated. And we'll see you next week for the Red Zone. Have a great weekend and stay safe. Thanks again for joining. We'll see you next week.